So even though John accepted that explanation in the moment, Virginia knew that she had put herself in a dangerous position. Whether she hadn't thought through what would happen if he ever checked the accounts himself, or whether she assumed she would never get caught, I mean, at this point, the situation was spiraling. And after all of John's questions, she realized something pretty quickly. This wasn't going to just go away. John was going to keep asking questions. He was going to want updates. And eventually, she knew that the truth was going to come out. And if that happened, the consequences for Virginia could be huge. Her parents could kick her out. They could cut off the allowance that she was living on. She could suddenly find herself at 31 years old with no job, no money, and nowhere to live. And that's when her thinking started shifting into a very dark direction. She started planning. In Virginia's mind, the solution became simple. John and Lois had to die. And she believed that she could pull it off. I mean, after all, her parents didn't have a large circle of close friends. Their relationships with family were already very distant. So if she lied about where they were, it actually may work, at least for a while. So on the night of June 17th, 2019, Virginia decided that it was time. She had already been thinking about how she might kill both of her parents, and ultimately, she believed that the easiest method would be making them overdose on medication. Compared to other options, she thought that this would be the quickest and the least messy. So for weeks leading up to that night, Virginia was running what I guess you could call experiments. She had been crushing pills, secretly mixing them into John's food, trying to see what worked, what didn't, and not because she expected it to kill him, or at least not kill him right away, but she wanted to observe what would happen. And she would measure exactly how much she used. She would watch for side effects. She'd pay attention to how he reacted. But whatever doses she had been using, they weren't doing very much. John seemed, a little more lethargic, less energy, but given his age and his medical issues, neither he nor Lois found that particularly unusual. But even after weeks of experimenting, though, Virginia ended up changing her plan slightly when the night of the murders arrived. On the evening of June 17th, she cooked dinner for both of her parents, something that she did regularly, and the meal itself was completely normal. Nothing was added to the food. But afterward, Virginia told them that she wanted to make each of them an evening drink, a nightcap, if you will. And that's when the pills came in. She crushed up a large amount of medication and she slipped it into both of their drinks. Far more medication than she ever had before. More than anything she had experimented with. John's drink contained alcohol, which wasn't unusual for him. I mean, as we talked about earlier, he was known to have a couple of drinks before bed. But this drink, it was quite the mixture. It had Guinness, brandy, and crushed prescription pills. Now, Lois, on the other hand, she didn't drink alcohol at all. You couldn't even convince her to have the occasional glass of wine. So her drink was non-alcoholic, but it still contained the crushed pills. Afterward, Virginia helped both of them get ready for bed and tucked them into their separate rooms because they slept separately, because by that point, John and Lois hadn't slept in the same room for years, just medical issues, age, you name it. So she tucked them in both of their rooms, and then she waited. And her plan was simple. When she would wake up the next morning, they would both be dead. So when Virginia woke up the following morning, she took her time getting up. She put on her robe, she slipped into her slippers, and she started walking toward her dad's room. It was around 6 a.m., which for John was actually a pretty normal time to start waking up, or maybe even already be awake. But when she entered the room, it was quiet. Dark, no movement, which to Virginia, it seemed like a good sign. Part of her had worried that she might wake up to a completely normal morning and that it wouldn't have worked, that John would already be out of his bed and starting his day. But instead, he was still lying in bed, not moving. At first, she quietly said his name, wondering if maybe he was just sleeping, but he didn't respond. And as she got closer, she realized something else. He wasn't snoring, his chest didn't appear to be rising and falling, and that's when it became clear her plan had worked. John had finished every single drop of that drink that Virginia had given him, and now he was dead.